Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to break down one of the absolute cornerstones of cloud computing, infrastructure as a service, or as you'll always hear it called, IaaS. If you've ever wondered how companies can launch these massive global applications without actually buying a single piece of physical hardware, well, this is how.
Okay, so let's get right into it with an analogy that honestly makes this whole thing just click. Think about getting a place to live. With IaaS, you're basically renting an empty plot of land. You get the ground, you get the utility hookups, but it's up to you to design and build the house from the foundation all the way to the roof. You have total control. Compare that to PaaS, which is kind of like renting an unfurnished house. The walls and plumbing are there, you just bring your furniture. And then there's SaaS, which is like checking into a hotel. Everything's done for you. Today, we're all about that plot of land.
So here's our game plan for today. We'll kick things off with what IaaS actually is. Then, we'll get into why it's such a huge deal, the advantages of renting. After that, we'll pop the hood and see how it works, look at who's using it in the real world, and wrap up with the really important stuff, the risks and responsibilities that come with all this power.
All right, so let's move beyond that plot of land analogy and put a more formal definition on this. What are we really talking about when we say infrastructure as a service?
Okay, so here it is. IaaS is a cloud service model that gives you the fundamental building blocks of IT. We're talking servers, storage, and networking. But here's the key. You get them on demand over the internet. So instead of buying and racking physical servers in your own data center, you're essentially renting them from someone else. It really is the digital foundation for building, well, pretty much anything you can think of.
So why on earth would a company want to rent its infrastructure instead of owning it? I mean, don't you want to own your own stuff? Well, the reasons are absolutely game-changing. Let's dig into why so many businesses are making this choice.
Now, this is huge. It's all about the money. The old way meant you had to spend a massive chunk of cash up front. That's a capital expense, or CapEx, just to get started. With IaaS, that whole model gets flipped on its head. It becomes an operational expense, or OpEx. It's just like your monthly electric bill. You pay for what you use, and the provider worries about all the expensive hardware. This shift is a really big deal.
And that switch to a pay-as-you-go model, wow, it unlocks some incredible benefits. Got a new idea you want to test? You can spin up 100 servers in a few minutes, not a few months. Get a sudden spike in website traffic? No problem. The system can scale up automatically. And maybe best of all, your really smart IT team can stop spending their days swapping out broken hard drives and actually focus on building cool stuff that moves the business forward.
All right, so what do you actually get when you sign up for IaaS? What are these building blocks we keep talking about? Let's take a look under the hood.
The secret sauce that makes all of this possible is a technology called virtualization. Just imagine a ridiculously powerful physical server in a data center somewhere. Virtualization is basically software that slices that one giant server into lots of smaller, independent virtual servers. Each one thinks it's its own separate computer, even though they're all sharing the same physical hardware. It's pure magic.
Okay, first up is compute. This is your processing power, the brains of the operation. The most common thing you'll use is a virtual machine, or a VM. That's your virtual computer in the cloud. Now, if you need every last drop of performance, you can also rent an entire physical server just for you. That's called bare metal. There are also these super lightweight things called containers, but for now, just think of the VM as your main workhorse.
Next, you need a place to put all your files and data, right? That's storage, and IaaS gives you a few different kinds. Block storage is basically the high-speed hard drive that attaches to your VM. Object storage is like a giant, infinitely scalable closet that's perfect for stashing huge amounts of data, like photos and videos, really cheaply. And file storage acts like a shared network drive that multiple virtual machines can all access at the same time.
And finally, networking. This is the glue that holds everything together and keeps it safe. A virtual private cloud, or VPC, is like your own private, fenced-off corner of the cloud provider's massive network. From there, you add things like load balancers, which are like traffic cops that spread incoming requests across your servers so no single one gets overwhelmed. And of course, you have firewalls, which act like digital bouncers, controlling exactly what traffic is allowed in and out.
Okay, so now we know the pieces of the puzzle: compute, storage, and networking. But how do people actually put them together? Where do you see IaaS out there in the wild?
Oh, it's everywhere. Developers absolutely love it for spinning up temporary environments to test new code, and then they just delete them when they're done. No mess.
It's the backbone for hosting websites and apps that need to handle tons of traffic. A lot of companies use it to do what's called a lift and shift, basically moving their old on-premise applications straight to the cloud. And it's perfect for massive data analysis projects where you might need to rent a supercomputer for just a few hours.
And who's providing all this amazing infrastructure? Well, I bet you've heard these names before. You've got the heavy hitters, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud. These are the giants of the industry. They're the ones who own and operate these colossal data centers all over the planet. They are, for all intents and purposes, the global landlords for all these digital plots of land.
Okay, so IaaS gives you incredible, fine-grained control, and that's its greatest strength. But, and this is a really big but, it's absolutely essential to understand that with all of that control comes a whole lot of responsibility.
In this slide right here, this illustrates what is probably the single most critical concept in cloud security, the shared responsibility model. Here's the deal. The cloud provider is responsible for the security of the cloud. That means the physical data centers, the servers, the networking gear. But you, the customer, are responsible for security in the cloud. That's on you. You have to patch your operating systems, you have to configure your firewalls correctly, and you have to protect your own data.
And that level of responsibility, it can create some real challenges. Your team needs to have the right skills to manage all these pieces. One tiny misconfiguration, like accidentally leaving a storage bucket open to the public, can lead to a massive, embarrassing data breach. And if you're not paying close attention, it is frighteningly easy for costs to just spiral out of control as people spin up resources and forget to turn them off.
So, let's wrap this all up. At the end of the day, IaaS is the absolute bedrock of cloud computing. It's handing you the raw materials, the compute, the storage, the networking, so you can build exactly what you need, with levels of flexibility that was just unimaginable a couple of decades ago. It truly is the digital foundation for your IT.
And that leaves us with one final big thought. The power and potential of IaaS are just undeniable. It gives anyone, from a single developer to a giant corporation, access to world-class infrastructure. But it forces you to ask a very serious question. When you're handed that digital plot of land, are you really ready to build the house from the ground up?